Hello everybody, welcome to Sonic Talk episode 689, recording today live on Wednesday the 27th of October as we head towards Black Friday and all of that excitement. I'm sure there'll be people looking for bargains, although I'm not wondering whether there'll be any stock anywhere, because that's one of the big problems. But anyway, I digress. This is the Music Technology Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, on Stitcher, on Google, on iTunes, in audio. You can ask your smart speaker to play us. If you just say insert name here, play a Sonic Talk podcast, it should bring you the latest version. That works on all flavours as far as I'm aware, so please do join that. You can also find us on Facebook Live streaming. We also stream on Twitch, and for those of you who support us on Patreon, which we much appreciate, you can find us on patreon.com/Sonicstate, and our upper tier supporters will get a name check at the end of the video. It comes in, so if you started now, you might actually be there by the time the video ends. So anyway, that's enough of that plugging of all those things. What else have we got? Oh yeah, I wanted to say we've also got the Sonic album that I wanted to plug, because that is actually a great piece of work by a bunch of people, one of whom is here at the moment. That would be Yoad Nevo. So I will bring him in. So let me just press the right buttons. Yoad, how are you? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm very well, Nick. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Things are going pretty good. I mean, you know, my daughter's 18th birthday was last weekend, so we're kind of recovering from that. She seems to have switched from being a sweet little girl to being a stroppy teenager in a matter of hours. It's astonishing how that changes. But anyway, it's all good. She's absolutely fine, and it's lovely to see her getting into adulthood. I guess, yeah, there's only the two of us this week, so you will have to bear with me. I much appreciate you coming on and making it back here in time. How have you been? You been busy?
Yeah, I've been really busy, but and I am really busy. I'm mixing like crazy. Everyone is wanting mixes at the moment, but I couldn't resist, you know, the topics that you have. For today.
I think that's called a tease, isn't it? Because we'll bring some of those on. Yeah, excellent. I'm glad to hear it. Well, I know is most of the mixing you're doing, is that in Atmos, or is it kind of across the board? I mean, because you're set up for Atmos now.
Mostly stereo still, but you know, it's getting there. It's getting
so I guess the thing is, you can upsell, can't you? Now you said, oh, by the way, if you fancy that, and they'll go, oh yeah, go on
then. Yeah, I mean, it is a really nice experience listening to a mix and then hearing it in, like, once it's opened and all that to Dolby Atmos. It's a really lovely experience.
Yes, well, for those of you who haven't seen, there's a really great video that we did with Yoad on mixing in Atmos and kind of what it entails and what it means and how it kind of translates to other systems, right down to binaural. So please do check that out. I haven't got a link for that. I do actually have a link for the brilliant video that we did with Yoad on his production of the track "Waiting for You" that he did with Nina Smith on the album. So I can plug that, but I'm afraid I didn't have set up the link for the other one. But never mind. So yeah, we do have topics this week, and let's start with the first one.
Who are you? We are the knights who say... No.
Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. But you'll understand why that is pertinent. I might have to... Yeah, here we go. Here we go. This is... Yeah, Native Instruments 25 years old today, which sounds like an awful lot, but then I was starting to think about it, and there's quite a lot of people who've been doing this for 25 years. Native Instruments, of course, this is just the sort of video montage of all their good stuff. In fact, they're doing a free Contact 6 instrument called 25 and a competition, if you make a track with it, that you can win a bunch of stuff from them. But it's a kind of impressive milestone, I guess. But then I was thinking, I've got Yoad on this week, and I bet Waves have been going for longer than 25 years, or at least 25 years.
Yeah, I think we are nearing our 30th.
Right.
And out of which I've been with Waves for 24 years. So that's been a long and quite a wonderful journey. But I can imagine for Native Instruments, you know, it's probably like us, you know. Obviously, we know some of them, and we're in touch.
It's a small world, yeah.
A bunch of guys starting to do something, and I remember when they came out, one of the first things, one of the first releases was the spectral delay, which was a really cool delay based on, so you could delay different sections of the frequency range, and it created some weird comb filtering and stuff. It was a really cool product. I don't know why they discontinued it, but what was I think they had the Prophet 5. What was it called? That was the first.
God, I don't know. Well, because
instrument.
what did they start with that, or did they go? Were they first with Reactor? I should have probably read the history of this, but I'm sure the chat room will.
No, it was definitely they had that, and they had a B6.
Pro 5.2, as the chat room saying.
Pro 5.2, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was back in the days when Virtual Instruments actually sounded really crap. It was just the GUI that was really impressive. I mean, this wasn't any reflection on Native Instruments. It's just the technology and the emulation and the component modeling and all of that just wasn't available back then. You know, I mean, the amount of stuff that's changed, and we're at this kind of curve at the moment, particularly with the introduction of these new processors that are coming in, you know, from Apple and other system on a chip kind of things, where things are just accelerating again. We've gone from these tiny incremental changes to these sort of sudden leaps in terms of price performance things. So one thing that has surprised me a little bit, Yoad, is that they've been very quiet during lockdown, and I think a lot of companies have been making hay while this has happened, but it seems like there's just not been an awful lot of product coming out, which I thought there might be more, but I mean, it may just be that, you know, circumstances have led it, but that was kind of surprising, because I know you guys have been quite busy, so I wonder if we're going to see a really big thing soon.
I think that one can only assume that successful companies such as NI, if they're quiet, it's because they're busy, working on something, and this would be very exciting to see, because they're very innovative and you know, become the industry standard. Like the Contact has become the industry standard kind of sample library player, which is something that we can relates to another topic, maybe.
It might well do, yes. I'll have to think about that, because I'm trying to remember where we are. But yeah, I thought it was well worth mentioning that, because they're definitely, you know, I mean, Contact, I think, it is one of those, I mean, and I will use this sort of hesitantly, but it was kind of a game-changing piece of technology. There are other flavors of sample player now, but they were kind of the first to make this widely licensable engine for playback of samples, and then it kind of got in also reactor kind of models, and their whole thing is they're using the tools that they use to make synths to make their plugins as well, which is a really interesting thing. So it became this kind of almost an ecosystem. But Reactor certainly was one of the biggest software products. I mean, they must have made a fortune during those golden years when that was that, you know, because it was everywhere, and you had to license it to get it compiled and all of those things.
Yeah, that's an amazing platform alongside SynthEdit. I think, you know, really powerful platforms, and Reactor. Luckily, I never got to, I never dived really into it, because again, it's like the modular, and it's like the Continuum. What's it called? The engine? Sorry, I forgot.
Yes, yeah, the Harken or the engine. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you can just get lost in there for 20 years, and that's it basically. And I know some people who do that.
Yeah, Egan Matrix.
But
Thank you
yeah,
very much,
yeah.
Steve Elbows. That's very kind of you to put that in. In fact, just a quick plug: a new server. If you're not sure why the server isn't working, head over to live.sonicstate.com and point your IRC client at that. There seems to be a bit of an issue with the embedded thing, but we'll sort that out for next week. I beg your pardon. Yeah, there's also obviously there are other engines are available. There's Spitfire Audio have developed their own engine. There's UVI's Falcon engine, which is a similar kind of principle there, which are also great. There are a few flavors of this stuff now, so it becomes they're not the only game in town anymore, which is rightly so. That's what competition's all about, and that's all kind of good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would hope that they would address the kind of loading time of Contact, because the GUI it takes a while for it to load and then to open the GUI, and if you have many instances and you want to flick through them and just kind of work fluently, sometimes that's why when I can I use the EXS, the Logic EXS, because it's so light. It's now called the sampler, but the variety and the choice that you have for libraries for Contact is unbelievable.
Well, let's not forget, I mean, Logic's EXS engine is also, very, I mean, Logic's instruments, which I guess we could go there as it's a topic that would be coming up soon anyway. We could jump to that because it's a nice link. I mean, Logic has had an update as well, which is 10.7, I believe. But I mean, it still contains those classic instruments, the so I can't, ES1, ES2, EXS24, which has now become sampler. But that's based on these early instruments. And I've said it before. I mean, it's astonishing how well those instruments have actually held up over time, isn't it? I mean, it's, I'm sure you use some of that stuff yourself as well, right?
Yeah, Logic. I just love this platform from any aspect you can think of. There's something about the kind of fractal nature of it, where when you edit a MIDI note in that screen, the MIDI is like a region, and when you're back in the arrange page, the region, there's a hierarchy and a fractal structure which is very logical. But also, like you mentioned, the instruments sound so good and so well integrated into the platform. I think I read somewhere that there's a bunch of new presets for ES2 that came out.
Wow.
Out with this update.
That's got to be what, 15, 20 years old?
Such an old scene.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But it's still really good. It just sounds really good. Back in the day when, like you said, software instrument didn't sound that good. When they came out with their instruments, I think it was 2005,
maybe
4, something like that. They sounded amazing, and they still do.
Well, I've just sort of taken this opportunity to stick the notes up on, because Logic Pro 10.7, yes, that's out. It's an update that came along with all the other stuff that from Apple's event. Was it this week or last week? I can't. It must have been last week, wasn't it? And we got all excited about the MacBook Pros, which I am personally very excited about. I haven't been excited about a computer for ages. But the big news with Logic is it gets Atmos built in, and I've had this confirmed. The Atmos that is built in allows you to mix and publish ADM BWF files. So you can start a project in Logic, work with you'd have to mix in binaural, because unless you actually had an Atmos system, which most people won't, you could still create a kind of binaural you can monitor in binaurally and create a broadcast WAV mix that you can then upload to Apple Music. So you can start and finish Atmos based projects, if I've understood that correctly, because you've got the full rig with the 12 speakers and all of that. I mean, is this going to make your life easier or more complicated?
Yeah, so there's two ways there are two ways to look at it. One, like we showed on the video we did on Dolby Atmos, the Dolby Atmos is a separate app. And as such, you have to root from your DAW a large number of tracks or streams through a virtual driver into that application, and that alone takes a lot of resources from the computer. I have an M1 here, not the new ones that are gonna come out, but you know, it's a really good computer, but it's not massively powerful. It's just an Mac
Mini, yeah.
Mac Mini. So running. I have a more powerful computer, but I'm using the M1 because that's the new kind of kid in town. So if you run both a big logic session and the Dolby Atmos renderer, it's kind of heavy, and you can experience some glitches and stuff, and you can feel that the computer is not really happy with that arrangement. Once you move that into Logic, which is what Apple did with Dolby, it means that you don't have to route between applications. So the routing is done internally. So basically it's like internal buses, which you can open like quite a few without the computer really, stressing about. However, it comes with some limitations, because when you work, like we showed on the video, so there's a logic session running, and all the audio outputs, all the objects, and the bed are routed to the Dolby Atmos system. Then you actually have them on outputs in Logic.
So they're going to actual physical speakers, right? So ultimately,
yeah, but what it means is that if you need a limiter, or if you need to EQ your master, basically what happens now with the arrangement, once it's inside, when it's inside Logic, you can't really process the outputs. Once an object has been assigned to, like a track has been assigned to a Dolby Atmos object, that's it. It goes directly from there to the ADM file. You can't really, there's the built-in Dolby Atmos limiter, but that's the only thing you have. So you can't master. You're skipping a whole phase of the production. So there are still benefits to running the Dolby Atmos application as a standalone, even on a separate computer, because it can do that, and I've connected it that way, and it works fine. But it's, for most people, I think it's a step in the direction of, like you said, starting and finishing a whole Dolby Atmos production, or a whole surround production, if you want, on headphones. Would you be able to actually start your mix, bounce the ADM file, and then send it to someone like you who could do that final mastering thing from the session you send them, or does it have to be done before it gets bounced to kind of be done properly? Yeah, it is possible. It's much more straightforward and simpler to stay within the kind of Dolby Atmos world once you've assigned your tracks to that, if you know what I mean. So
okay.
There are a few issues, but for the average kind of bedroom producer, when they want to mix for Apple Music in Dolby Atmos, although they'll be doing it on their headphones, and that will be the only reference. And as I'm sure you saw on our videos, the comments are that a lot of people didn't really like the sound of the binaural processing, and it is quite a problematic stage. But you know, it's a step in the right direction. I really am very positive about this trend, because it opens up new, it kind of shakes things up a little bit.
Definitely shakes the tree. Yeah, definitely shakes the tree. It's not all good news though, because there's been quite a lot, as with all major releases. there have been a number of bugs that have been introduced with 10.7, and some people have been caught out because often if you're new to Logic, or perhaps you didn't realize, Apple will auto update software unless you specifically say not to. So it's worth making sure you got a backup of your previous working Logic, which is just really grabbing the app and putting it somewhere else so that when it gets updated you can go back, because there was a couple of people who said, I've got one here, which is Johnny McAppleseed, who just was caught out by that and it trashed a load of the projects that he was working on. I mean, this is an isolated case, but it's definitely worth thinking about. I'm sure they'll get around to fixing these things, but there are bugs with the new thing. Have you gone 10.7, or have you just sort of sandboxed it to see what it's like?
Yeah. I've gone 10.7, and I've noticed a few bugs, mainly in editing, which are a little bit annoying, and I hope they'll fix them soon. But it was a big update because you have to actually go into the audio engine and grab buses from the mixer and stuff like that, and I'm sure they had to deal with a lot of problems of stability and things like that with the actual engine. So once it's all working happily, then they will probably attend to the sort of more minor bugs.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's definitely worth that. I thought it was worth mentioning there. I think I'll probably just have a quick interlude while we have a word from our friends over at iZotope.
iZotope Producers Club is a one-of-a-kind membership for producers ready to take their tracks to the next level. Once you join, you'll gain access to powerhouse iZotope plugins and a curated selection of tools from our partners, such as Melodyne from Celemony. Plus, as long as you're a member, you'll get every future update to the iZotope plugins in your membership for no extra cost. We'll also regularly serve you new curated content like exclusive inspiration-sparking sample packs and preset packs, and industry-leading training ranging from our own tutorials to vocal production lessons from the world-renowned Berklee Online, taught by Grammy-winning producer and engineer Prince Charles Alexander. With new content being added every month full of valuable production techniques, tips and tricks, and solutions to common production problems, becoming a member is an investment in your career that grows as you and your career do. For more information on iZotope Producers Club, head to iZotope.com.
And don't forget, if you want to, if you go to iZotope.com/Sonictalk, there's a special landing page there, which is at the moment all about subscriptions. But I did check there because there is still, I think if I put that there, iZotope, yeah, if you use the code Sonic10 at checkout, you can still get a 10%, and I just tested that on the iZotope RX9 Advanced, saved myself nearly $80 on the price just by entering the coupon code Sonic10 at checkout. So worth just keeping on that. We thank them for their support, and they, as they said in their blurb they sent me, they're proud sponsors of Sonic Talk, and we're proud to have them. So thank you very much. Is there anything else with Logic that that you've seen that's worth mentioning? Because Atmos is obviously grabbing all the headlines, but there must be some other aspects as well, or
there's a lot of new content. There's a lot of Apple loops, new
Right.
Apple loops by kind of named producers, and other content. I think like 40 gigs or something like that. So
oh right, so yeah, well that'll soon fill up your system on a chip, non-expandable hard drive if you've got all of that stuff going on. But we'll gloss over that. But yeah, there were a couple other things that came up. Just going back to those Macs again, because I've had some things clarified. All the demos that you see, they're showing, streaming multiple 8K video on, this is probably on the Max Pro chip, but actually, so that uses the internal storage, which is very, very fast. I think on the Max Pro, it's something like 400 gigs a second. I mean, it's insanely fast. But the Thunderbolt ports are all capable. There's three buses, and they're all capable of 40 gigs a second. So if you don't want to spring for a lot of extra storage internally, you could still put a super fast NVMe, which would do maybe 5-6 gigs a second, and you would be able to run 3 of those off your Thunderbolt ports without any problem at all. So, and that still takes advantage of all of the onboard encoding decoder. That's if you're using it for video. I also saw a session running I think it was a Max Pro 14-inch, and it was running 1,500 tracks in Logic, and massive Spitfire orchestral stuff. I mean, it was in and Dolby Atmos as well, and that was about seven. That was 3/4 of all the cores, but it was 1,500 tracks of virtual instruments and mix and all of that stuff, which is pretty insane. So that'll bring a smile to your face, no doubt. Yeah, when next time you've got one of those unmanageable sessions, right?
Yeah, but it's nice to, it's just about being greedy, because you see those lines of the core meters kind of going up, and you think, oh, I need a faster computer. I want them to go up that much. But usually it's fine if you.
Yeah, I mean, exactly with audio, but I mean, and yet, I mean, sorry to bang on about this, but we've only seen the first sort of pro instances coming in on laptops. I mean, we've still got a desktop iteration presumably to come, and possibly a Mac Mini, which will go further up the food chain. And when you've got all that extra cooling, and I mean, there are rumours that the Mac Pro, which will be M1 based, is going to have something like 40 or 50 cores. It's going to be super powerful. So that's going to be way more than anybody needs for audio. But I'm sure people will find a way to use it all up, right? I mean, it doesn't take long, does it?
Yeah, I'm not even sure if there will be a Mac Pro, because really? if you have a Mac Mini with loads of Thunderbolt ports, and with regards to what you said before, I have 500 on the internal drive, but I run everything, from Thunderbolt to USB 3. Like I have like a few hubs like that connected to more hubs, and it's fine. I never have, I don't kind of record and play back huge videos and stuff like that.
No,
it's just
exactly.
audio.
Exactly.
But it for me, it runs very happily on USB 3 speeds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's plenty of bandwidth there for audio. Even 192 24-bit, you can get a bunch of stuff on that. It's not going to be a problem. Okay, I think I'm going to jump to. I'm not following the list of topics in a list of topics way. I'm going to go to. I'm going to go to this one now, which I just need to set up the link if I've got it somewhere. Hold on, let's just get there. And yeah, here we go. So let's press this one.
Oh my God, I love this song.
We've only been a band collectively. This will be our third day.
We only have one copy of lyrics.
You have 7 minutes left.
7 minutes already? Really?
Hey, it's Andrew Huang. If you don't know, I am in a band with one of my best friends, Rob Scanlon, called 1st of October, where once a year on the 1st of October, we try to get together and write and record an entire 10-song album from scratch in one day.
Yeah, this is a really interesting thing. I mean, Andrew Huang, as we know, superstar kind of YouTuber, and Rob Scanlon, both very talented musicians. But the video, it's well worth watching the video. This was posted on our site. It's well worth watching it because they literally start with, okay, they're in the studio. They they may have thought about some things, but they're starting from literally nothing. And they do 10 tracks in 12 hours. Limit themselves to 50 minutes a track. The album is available on Spotify. The links are all in the URL that I posted in the notes. And what was really interesting to me about this was how excited and talented they were, but also how they relied back on their basic skills. They didn't introduce any synthesizers, they didn't introduce any modular stuff. And while 2 or 3 of the songs and the compositions were really beautiful and caught really magical moments, it's also clear that sometimes you do need a bit more time to percolate. But by the same token, instinct is a very, very powerful tool when it comes to music. Now, I know, Yoad, I don't know if you've had a chance to see this, quite a long video, but it's a really interesting thing because, you work in a very I know you work very fast, and I don't know whether you're involved in tracking sessions very much or composition sessions and how quickly they move, but do you try and move things along fast, or do you like to let things percolate? I mean, I don't know if you saw this. I'd just be interested in your thoughts.
So I think it's basically the law of diminishing returns, because you can write a song in 10 minutes and it can be amazing or it can be not so good, but that can happen even if you write a song in 3 days. So that really isn't a factor. But when there's, you know, things are flowing and you connect with a person. I always write with other people because I don't write lyrics, so kind of jam or either on guitar or some beats or keyboards or whatever, and come up with something. So that usually takes very, you know, it happens very quickly if it happens. Otherwise, you just move on to another thing. But I wouldn't sit for 2 hours trying to crack something and torture myself and all that. If something clicks and there's a flow, then you have a song. Maybe you have a verse or chorus or something like that. So essentially, you have a song. And then from there on, every other stage or other step you take will just take longer and arguably will have less impact of the essence of the song. So you can mix a song for 2 days, which took you half a day to produce and half an hour to write.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It stops there because you wouldn't then master it for 4 weeks, but it, you know, it stops at the mix stage. Yeah,
it's interesting. I wondered. So what struck me about this was how it made me think a little bit about how much our desire to work or maybe overwork things, some artists, stems from a level of insecurity, which means, you know, you feel like, I mean, and I understand that, you know, nowadays a song can go out there and be in front of an enormous amount of people very quickly, and you could be judged on that. So maybe if your lyrics weren't so hot or whatever, then you're going to get, you know, judged for that. And in some instances, that Andrew Huang, the first track on the album, is a beautiful kind of little acoustic song about the birth of his kid, and it's really touching, and it was a really magical moment. There were some other moments in, because I watched the whole video, there was other magical moments in there that they were very good at letting go. They go, I really want to work on this, and you know, you can hear on some of the songs it's like, oh, I wouldn't have gone to that bit there, I'd have gone straight into the chorus. You know, the finessing of the arrangement and the finessing, but the essence, like you say, the essence of the compositional moment is what this kind of seems to highlight. But again, you know, I think they used a polybrew in it with a mono line, but no other synthesizers, piano, guitars, bass, drums, and vocals, things that you could just immediately express yourself with. And I thought that was very interesting. And I think the nature of electronic music can be quite ponderous. And I know, I mean, obviously, you write where we went over the thing that you did with Nina Smith, and it came together very quickly. But how ponderous are you when it comes to the sounds? Are you very instinctive? You just go, I hate it, I love it, and just move on, or do you try? How long before you go, no, I know there's something there, and I need to find it. I need to get it out.
I think that for me, I prepare a lot in order to being able to use intuition and be quick later, like in real time. So, you know, I will prepare my sound banks and folders and naming and all that, so that when I look for a kick drum, you know, I don't know how many tens of thousands of kick drums, and it's not possible to remember. Even if I put it in a favorite folder or something, there's still too many. So I try to have a kind of mental image of the folders, and then just choose one which I think will be in the right area, and then just let my fingers go, basically, and find 1, 2, 3. And usually I will, even if it's not something that I expected to find there, it will be, hey, that's interesting, and that will maybe lead to another thing. So I would move very quickly between ideas to try to form something within, I don't know, 10 minutes, and then you can sit back and listen to it and ask yourself, is it worth kind of investing, you know, getting into it? And if it is, then I will spend hours on perfecting it, because Yeah, because I think that for for a lyricist, they can sit for 2 weeks on like one word and all that. My perspective and what I do is everything that's around that, or around a melody, if you like. So it's the whole production and that's my perspective and sonics and all that. So I can spend hours, if not years, on something.
Interesting, but yeah, I guess take your point. I suppose the thing about this was, I mean, they don't know. I don't know how long it took to mix, because that wasn't specifically included in this. But to record, arrange, and kind of finish the lyrics and sing on them was done in 12 hours, which is a very impressive. And the amount of the energy levels that the guys had, and some of the, I mean, obviously they're very accomplished. I mean, I thought, I wonder what I could do in that period of time if I was just being my aim is, say 4 tracks in an 8-hour day. Would I be able to come up with 4 ideas if I was very strict with myself? And I suppose, yes, I could. And I'm sure anybody could if it was like, depending on the jeopardy, if it's like, well, oh no, actually, I really like this, I'm going to forget about that challenge. But if you stick to it, you probably could come up with something. And as we know, with songwriters write lots and lots and lots of songs, professional songwriters, and maybe only a few of them, I mean, unless they're great, only a few of them are the one, the really special kind of sentiment where it all comes together. But that's quite an interesting, I just thought it was a really fascinating thing, as well as watching the whole thing. I mean, it's just an interesting thing to do. But I wonder whether I could, and I suppose I could, but I don't know how good they would be. I suppose is the thing. They might all be rubbish.
Yeah, that's always the other thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But then again, you're relying back again on your instinct. And the thing, and I've said this a few times actually, the situation is that I've been in a situation where we all as artists have self-doubt. It's just a question of how much your confidence can go above that. So even if you're having a bad day, the product that you will finish, if it's a paid job, will still be okay. It might not be your best work ever, but it'll be presentable. And I think once you get to that sort of level, then you know that what you're going to do is going to have some level of presentability. If you're starting from nothing and you don't know how to do any of it, then yeah, it's going to be there's going to be lots of doubt. Because you're going to be frustrated. You don't know how to actually do what you're trying to do. So it does take a bit of time to exercise those muscles, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to have really good judgment, which is very strict but very forgiving at the same time. Because if you judge yourself over every note that you play, then you wouldn't be able to get anywhere. And that's why working quick is kind of you're tricking your criticism, your A&R sort of persona in your mind, and you just do something, and then you can listen back and a lot of times it would be cheesy or something and you just don't use it. But if you haven't, and that's also, even if you don't use something, it's still en route to working on that song. So maybe now okay, this is not the direction, then you limit your possibility, because your possibilities, because that's something that is very intimidating when you can do, especially these days with splice and contact and all that. You can do anything. You can do a classical arrangement, you can do a jazz arrangement with the right libraries. Even if you don't know how to play a note, you can just draw it in. So once you try something and get it out of the system, then, and that's not the way, so it kind of limits your endless possibilities, and that's something that is also reassuring.
Yeah, no, I agree. We could talk about the kind of psychology of creativity for hours, I'm sure. I just thought this was actually a really good focal point of it. So yeah, do check it out. Andrew Huang and Rob Scanlon, both very talented. And what's really good, because Andrew's videos are often very well crafted. I don't know how scripted they are, but they're very specifically made. And this is a lot more freeform. You get much more of a sense of how they are creatively, and it's really quite. It's a nice thing to see. It's a pleasant thing to witness. Okay, so maybe we'll go back to one of the other topics, which I could just got to find here. Yeah, here we go. So that's this guy. Spectrasonics Extensions. We mentioned it a little bit last week, and it should be a big deal because Spectrasonics don't release stuff very often, and these are kind of new custom packs for the Omnisphere engine. You do need to own Omnisphere for this, and they're highly customized GUIs and effects chains and control and patching and scenes. This is I'm going to pronounce his name, Ignacio Longo, who is one of the senior guys. This is him in the tunnels underneath LA where he's recording. Oh, it's interesting. It looks like he's got a couple of Sankans taped to his fingers. And there are 4 instruments that they've started with, which are Undercurrent, which is this one, Nylon Sky, Unclean Machine, and Seismic Shock. Now, this is kind of a big deal. What they've done is they're $150 each, so they're not cheap. But I mean, I think the thing is they've been spending such a long time giving this stuff away that, you know, it's kind of about time that they had this. And there's a load of really good videos on here, which will show you kind of what stuff is available. Is a great one from Eric, and they all do sound really good, and it's quite an interesting idea. And I guess it's a big thing. I don't know, Yoad, whether you're much of a Omnisphere person. I just don't have the room on my hard drive, and I'm not going to carry one around to use Omnisphere. I find it quite intimidating, but whatever I've heard sounds fantastic.
Omnisphere as a synth engine is just amazing. It has so much stuff to offer. It has a huge matrix with 16 points, which you can, which is very conveniently assignable and controlled from one place or from any other source or destination, and the sequencer, the arpeggiator. You can export MIDI files from your whatever you program on the arpeggiator, and free point envelope, floating point envelopes, and it has so much as a synth engine, and the library that comes with it is really large, like you mentioned. It's definitely if you're into synthesis and stuff digitally, I mean, as plugins, it's definitely one to have. Some of the sounds, I mean, its general sound is very kind of clean and transparent, and sometimes it sounds too clean.
Right.
But if you run some of the internal effects, can, like, they have like a valve compressor sort of thing and some amps and stuff, or you use other stuff after it. But it's definitely a great sounding engine, and what I've heard from these expansions, they sound really good.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's going to be. I'm sure it'll do well, because I mean, there was a period where it's almost like if you're into any form of composing for media, particularly in the US, you know, Omnisphere would be maybe the place you'd start, you know, because it just gave you almost everything and a load of stuff besides. And I'm sure to a degree, I mean, I'm not familiar with a lot of the patches, but I'm sure to a degree there were lots of media composers who'd sit there shouting at the telly going, I know that patch, you didn't even edit it, you know, like we heard with the D50, like we heard with, you know, the Wave Station and all of that stuff. I mean, inevitably that would be the case, and with such an enormous amount of patches, and they do invest. I mean, they've got a whole bunch. You know, Diego Stocco, who's a sometimes guest on this show, he's one of their sound designers. I mean, they make some amazing sounds. So this is great, and I hope it does really well for them. You can find it at sonicextensions.com. I think if I press that again, it will probably just... Yeah, there we go. Sonicextensions.com. So it's well worth checking out. Okay. Now, let me see. What else have we got? There was... is there anything you particularly want to go to, Yoad? Because there's a few left, and I know we're kind of... Do you want to look at the OP6, is that something that interests you, or the Tesla story, which has been hanging around for a while?
To be honest, I didn't really have time to do my homework.
That's all right.
Again,
don't worry.
so.
Don't worry. Okay. Well, look, let's go to this guy, because I think this is. Let me just find the right link. And here we go. Yes. So let's go. OPSIX, which I think is a great set. That it's one I very nearly sprung for myself. This is Luke Edwards, whose keyboard chops are really nice, actually, I have to say.
I'm talking to you about version 2 of the OPSIX. So what we've done is we've added a few new features. The first thing is we've added a new operator mode. So we already had the 5 different operator modes you see on the top here, but we've added a 6th one, and that is an effect operator. So you can now use an effect as an operator, which is pretty.
Anyway, I mean, it's a great video. There's lots of really good playing in it. And as I say, Luke plays some really nice riffs, actually. I'd like to get him to noodle on some of my stuff, because he's obviously more musical and has the skills. But yeah, this is the news. Operator version 2, I believe, is of the OPSIX, which is I think they call it expanded. Do they call it expanded? FM, I think. Altered FM. That's right. Altered FM synthesis, which is all fine. As I say, when I reviewed it, I was very tempted to buy this myself, actually, because I did really like the way it sounded. And no, yeah, you're a big, we've done a how it works with FM, deep into FM. Have you had a chance to try this? Because it's a really interesting hands-on way of getting into some FM stuff, which maybe you don't need because you know how it works anyway.
Yeah, looks great. I'm wondering if it's the same form factor as the Minilog.
No, it's it's like the wave state. It's
the wave state. I see. Yeah. So it's a little bit larger. It looks really good. The wave state looks really good. Both of them, I wouldn't mind having, if I had the room for them, and if I would actually use them. Because do you know what I mean? I have, and my good friend Sefi Carmel, who is also so he's a great producer and mixer and everything. So he bought a Moog 1 just the other day, and I really want one too, but I know that I'm just not gonna,
it'll have
do
to
much
go
stuff with it, because
it'll have to go to your left there. That would have to replace those keyboards there. It's a massive thing, the Moog 1. And it's great fun, but you can't really put anything on top of it. You need to get to all of the controls, and it's quite a raked thing. I mean, I don't know where they got with the firmware. I'm sure it's got better, but that's the thing that stopped me. Well, that didn't stop me. It was the price that stopped me. I can't afford to spend that on a synthesizer, but I did have to spend a lot of time with one. But you're a fan. It does sound very good.
Yeah, but I'm at this stage for I don't know, the past couple of years that I'm just mixing a lot, and I have my waves work, which is quite intense as well, and I don't really have much time to play with those synths, which is very unfortunate because I love them, and
yeah. I know what you say. I think the thing for me is, in the same way that I really love the Polybrute, which I've got in, they've sent me back because I'm going to have another look at it. And I every time I touch it, I just kind of go, ooh. And I sort of found myself quite similarly with the OPSIX. It's a very different experience. I mean, it's not as hands-on, but in terms of FM, it's very hands-on, and I found it very easy to create patches on it. And the patches that I got, even just sort of really small, minimal amounts of FM on basic sine waves, it was really pleasing. The effects in it are really good as well, and I have banged on about it. And I think it will now, the version 2 allows it to receive aftertouch. I don't know if it's MPE. I don't think it is, but it receives aftertouch from external because the keyboard in itself is quite, it's not a high grade keyboard like the same with the WaveState. It's quite a cheap thing in that sense. And I believe I didn't open this one, but I believe it might be there might be a Pi Zero in there doing some of the lifting, but I don't know whether it's the DSP or whether it would just be kind of maybe the control, managing the controls and stuff. But yeah, it's a nice piece of work from Korg. Maybe they'll release it, because when we saw it at NAMM, there was a full keyboard version in a glass case before it came out. Everybody saw it and go, "Ooh, what's that?" And it was a concept synth, and it was a full size thing, and that kind of maybe that'll make sense. But that's going to be no use to you because it's even bigger. So.
I know, but imagine like kind of a modern DX7. That could be something really cool. Once they figure out the way to actually control it, and not with those membranes, of course, but something that will look like a DX7 and will sound like a modern DX7. That could be awesome as well.
This isn't far off, to be honest. It was quite. I mean, you can load DX7 banks into it and use them as starting points for patches, which is what I did for a couple of the sounds that I found in there. And there's loads and loads of those.
How is it sounding in comparison? I know you don't have a DX7.
Yeah, I couldn't say. Maybe. I mean, I think. The A to Ds and the D to As are going to be different. I don't know whether it handles the transients that FM can supply in the same way. I mean, I couldn't say because I don't have any. I don't have any of those old DX technology here. I mean, I did think about getting a TX7 because I used to have one, but it's the keys that what felt so great on the DX7. They sort of set the bar for that kind of firm synth action keyboard, didn't they? And also did have
the best keyboard, the best kind of synthy keyboard.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, well, I don't know who, but I think Fatah get closer, but it still doesn't have that kind of thump. There's a certain resistance and mass to the DX keyboard, which I think it was only really specific on the Mark I, because when they got to the Mark IIs and the FD, I think the keyboard changed a bit. But
no, that was more plasticky. Yeah, it sounded better. It didn't have the kind of squeaky ends, on sounds, the metallic thing, because it was 16-bit and all that, but but it lost something.
But it got it, and the FD, for all the patches and whatnot. Anyway, I thought it was worth mentioning that because it is a nice thing. Have I got anything else here? Oh yeah, there was. I suppose. Yeah, I'm going to do this one because we haven't done this for. It's been on the list for such a long time, but never finally made it. Let me find my video button. Here we go. Oh no.
I want to talk to you today about the Tracks app which Tesla provide. This Tracks app allows you to produce music in your car. So if you're sitting around charging, waiting for a mate,
I'm just waiting for a mate.
Not only can you play music, but you can make it. What I think is really incredible about the Tesla is the fact that they include a 50.
Well, they go on about the Tesla because this is actually about electro heads. So this is them making the stuff.
So we're gonna play it one more time, yeah.
Vocalist Nuala and the kid Paris. The reason I put this up is, full disclosure, is Rich, who used to edit the guitar side of Sonicstate. He is behind Electroheads, and he's got a successful YouTube channel that's focusing on electronic transportation, so whatnot. And this is the Tesla had a Tracks DAW in it because apparently, what's his face? I've forgotten his name now. The main guy, he's into music, so that they thought they'd put one in, which obviously would only use when you're parked or waiting in traffic or whatever. I just thought it was another interesting idea. I don't know if you've probably got mates with Teslas, or maybe you've got one yourself. And have you seen this Tracks door in action? It seems like a bizarre thing to do.
No, I still drive.
Regular,
an old kind of old school type of engine car, I should say. But it's funny that that if you're just hanging, like if you're sitting around charging, so it's actually a form of killing time that is now going to be entered into our lives. Because when you charge your phone, you can be at home or you can be in the car, but you can do mostly like most of the stuff that you usually do. But when you have to sit in your car while it's getting charged, while it's being charged, that's a new way of pastime. And yeah, for that you need DAW portable, like built-in DAWs and games and whatever.
It's funny. I mean, this is a bit of an "and finally" kind of news item because it's a bit of a sort of light-hearted thing. But the thing that was really worried me was what they did is they went to a car park. They sat there with the kid Paris, and he put some beats together, and that was all cool. And then it crashed, and they lost all their work. And you're just thinking, that's kind of concerning because this software is running inside the car that is also pioneering or, you know, supposedly getting into driverless and self-driving scenario. And that made me feel a little bit less confident in the whole concept of driverless vehicles or autonomous vehicles. And, you know, I suppose that's the thing you would think. You're not going to get that kind of level of, well, I mean, you'd expect that level of robustness in the actual software that runs the car, but maybe not in the DAW.
Yeah.
But that was the thing that made me a little bit nervous.
I wouldn't. I don't think that the Android that runs tracks actually controls the car.
Oh, phew.
You know, I think I'm pretty sure it's a different OS which is a little bit more robust. However, yeah, when you sit in a car and something crashes, it's not a very nice connotation.
I don't think I've ever been in a vehicle that's where software's crashed. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I mean, I suppose sometimes you get the radio. I mean, most of my cars are not that technologically advanced. I mean, they just don't.
But you know, if it does, you have to close all the windows. Go outside and come back in again.
That's the old adage, isn't it? I mean, for those of you who perhaps don't remember, the old adage was get in, get out of the car. This was, you know, early days of software. It's like switch it on and switch it off again. You know, that's kind of the only recourse you have, and it's the same sort of principle. But just a bit of fun there, I thought. We're nearly there. I must have thank you for filling the time so admirably, Yoad. I don't know if you had any picks or any kind of suggestions for anything, but I'm going to go with mine, just purely because I did find it's a bit basic, and I'll just throw that up there. And it's basically the Brada IKEA Brada laptop support. Now, this may be completely obvious to the most of you. They did two different sorts, but every time I do a video on Sonic and I'm using one of those, someone in the comments says, "What's that? Where'd you get it? What are you using there?" The thing about these things is they're so useful. You can have them upside down. You can put them so that the top edge is sitting on the top of a keyboard, so you can raise up another module so that it's at the same level for certainly for overhead filming. And that's my pick of the week, and I think they're about a £5, and they used to come in different sizes, so I would just say that's my pick of the week. I don't know if you've come across anything recently, Yoad, that you'd like to share and go, "Oh, you should get one of these." I know I put you on the spot.
Not really. Nothing that I can't that I can. I mean, I bought this additional kind of tailpiece for my Jazz Master, if that's of interest.
Oh, what's that? Like a bridge?
It's something that you kind of put between the bridge and the to basically give you a steeper angle of attack on the bridge. So between the tailpiece and the bridge, and it's nice. It makes the whole guitar kind of tighter and
interesting.
So
I don't know what that is. What do you call it? What is this thing called?
You should have one in every home. Every home should have one. It's essential. Excellent.
Well, I'm glad to. I appreciate that. So I guess that brings us to our sort of 5 o'clock cut-off time. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for those of you in the YouTube chat room. Thanks for those of you who've donated to Super Chat and Super Stickers. I think I saw a couple go past, but I'm afraid I don't know if I got them all, but it's very kind. And don't forget, if you want to support us on Patreon, it's really just if I get rid of that, it's there we go. It's that simple. Just go Patreon, and you'll get the pre-show. I was actually jamming a bit on the polybrute there, just into the Cosmos. I set the Cosmos up as just a regular looper. So if you want to see some of that, you can head over to that. But yeah, thanks ever so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you again. And I don't know. So are you going to just before you ask, because you were saying that the M1 Mini is struggling a bit to keep up with that. Have you considered maybe going up to the Pro Max and putting a laptop in there instead, or are you going to wait till there's a new? I'm not gonna go for a laptop as a main as a main computer here in the studio. No, I need something with with a kind of. But let's see how the Mac Mini the Mac Mini Max will turn out and see. That would be, yeah, I think that's what everybody's getting excited about. Okay, well, that's it. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for watching, you folks in the chat. Sorry about the Discord, the IRC server. I'm not sure what happened. I think it's not us, though, because Wagyu very kindly put together a move from our old server to the new server, so we're all up to date, and we've got some plans to implement for that. But I don't think the actual embed chat window was our doing. I think their service is just down, so I do apologise on their behalf, though I don't see why I should. But get your stuff together, Kiwi IRC. So cheers, Yoad. Thank you very much. We will. Oh, hello.
Here is the trying to sneak.
Excellent. There's the sudden the appearance on the impromptu appearance on Sonic Talk. Nice to see you. Okay. Cheers, Yoad. We will see you all next time. Thanks for watching. See you all later.
Next time.
Cheers, folks. Bye bye now.